What is my man doing? Donald Trump, what is JD Pondon doing? Actually, what the hell is going on? And he's like doing cryptocurrency schemes. The job market is not looking too hot. And this is before they factor in the layoffs at the federal agencies. I'm to move on and get to the news, newsman. Chop, chop. Get to the news, newsman. Don't worry. I'm getting to the news. All right.
While Moscow launched 67 missiles and nearly 200 drones against Ukraine's energy and gas infrastructure overnight. It was the first major missile attack since the White House paused intelligence sharing with Kyiv. The strikes hit targets across the country from Kharkiv in the east all the way to Ternopil in the west. And despite incendiary language aimed almost exclusively at the Ukrainian president since he returned to the White House in January, on Friday, Donald Trump threatened new sanctions.
Hey, maybe. Okay, I have an idea. What if you didn't undermine the proxy for the past 2 months? What if you hadn't done that while simultaneously trying to put forth a negotiation? I think that probably would have been better, don't you think? I think perhaps that would have been the smart play here, which would have been to basically reverse the roles, right? Like the way that Trump treats Israel, he should treat Ukraine like that. And the way that Trump treats Ukraine, he should treat, well, no one should treat any country like Israel, let's be real. But like, you know, closer to the way that he treats Israel with respect to Ukraine, while also getting everybody to the table to put forth a ceasefire, a real ceasefire and a real negotiation. But instead, he's just a bad guy. Not infinite weapons for Ukraine. That's not what I was saying at all. But he is being a bad person. He just wants to be wrong on every issue and wants to be on the wrong side of every issue no matter what. So seemingly he did the things that he's been doing and stopped intelligence sharing with Ukraine, which was kind of crazy. And Russia has just been pummeling Ukraine nonstop.
And tariffs, not on Ukraine this time, but on Russia over the latest bombing campaign against the Ukrainians. For more, France 24's international affairs editor Philip Turl joins me on set. Hi, Philip. Lots of back and forth from the White House on a range of issues, Russia and Ukraine included. So how do you assess these latest remarks from Donald Trump?
Every day there is a statement of some sort from the White House, either to do with tariffs, Canada, Mexico, or to do with the war in Ukraine, or other matters within Europe as well. We've just seen that spat with the French President Emmanuel Macron. So today, Donald Trump has just announced that he is calling on Russia to get to the negotiating table. That, I think, follows those attacks overnight that you were just referring to, with those 60 missile attacks and 200 drone attacks in Ukrainian territory. I'll read you this statement from President Trump. He says, based on the fact that Russia is pounding Ukraine on the battlefield, I'm strongly considering large-scale banking sanctions and tariffs on Russia until a ceasefire and final settlement has been reached. And then he says to Russia and Ukraine, get to the table right now before it is too late. So a strong-worded threat from President Trump.
So I do also find it very funny that the anti-China war hawk neoliberals are gonna be eating a lot of crow, considering what the Chinese foreign minister said about the American dynamic that is overtly pro-Russia. China came out and said Trump's two-faced policies are wrong and that you can't have negotiations with Russia without Ukraine at the table. What is my man doing? What is Donald Trump? What is JD Pondon doing? Okay? What is he doing? Actually, what the hell is going on? And he's like doing cryptocurrency schemes. The job market is not looking too hot. And this is before they factor in the layoffs that are ongoing, right? In the at the federal agencies. Oh, Beijing, China's top foreign policy official Wang Yi cast Beijing as a force for good and blasted the U.S. for being two-faced at a news conference during China's annual session of parliament on Friday. Last month, the Trump administration imposed a 10% tariff on Chinese goods. China's accused Trump of using fentanyl as a pretext. Wang addressed the escalating trade war, China's relationship with the U.S. Wait, hold on. There's the Ukraine side, too. Oh, Wang was asked directly if Trump's retreat from multilateral forums, freezing on foreign aid and strained relations with allies, presented a strategic opening for China on the global stage. He demurred. Imagine if every country prioritized itself above all else and placed blind faith in power and status. This world would regress to the law of the jungle, where smaller and weaker nations would bear the brunt of instability, and the international order and rule-based system would face severe disruption, Wang said. He said major powers have a responsibility to fulfill their international obligations and act with accountability. Pursuing self-interest at the expense of others or wielding power to intimidate is unacceptable. President Trump's tilt towards Russia has raised questions about him doing a possible reverse Nixon, i.e. cozying up to Moscow to isolate Beijing, flipping President Nixon's script from the early 1970s. This is what I've been talking about as well, by the way. Remember? Like they want to do a reverse Sino-Soviet split, basically. Which not sure how successful that would be in general, but it does seem like they're entertaining that. When America engaged in a detente with China, the pressure of the Soviet Union, its primary Cold War rival. But Wang said the historical logic of China's good relations with Russia was steadfast. I want to emphasize that regardless of changes in the international landscape, the historic logic of the China-Russia friendship remains unchanged, and the internal driving forces behind our relationship remain strong. Both sides have deeply reflected on historical experiences and have committed to long-term good neighborly relations, comprehensive strategic coordination, mutually beneficial cooperation. This approach best serves the fundamental interests of both peoples and aligns with the broader trends of the global developments and progress. China and Russia have established a unique model of engagement, one that is non-aligned, non-confrontational, and not directed at any third party, he said. In terms of the Ukraine war, China has tried to position itself as a potential mediator, able to help bring the war in Ukraine to an end. But since Trump's foreign policy shift towards Russia, Beijing has been largely left on the sidelines. China said to this, China welcomes and supports all efforts aimed at achieving peace. This is a position that they've had since day one. However, it is also important to recognize that this crisis has deep and complex historical roots. It was not created overnight and cannot be resolved overnight. He said China is willing to work with the international community in line with the wishes of the relevant parties to play a constructive role in achieving lasting resolution. The world must move towards a new security vision based on common, comprehensive, cooperative, and sustainable security. Only by doing so we can achieve peace and stability, not just in Eurasia, but across the entire world, he said. He also had some statements about Gaza as well. But from what I understand, my mom is just yelling. Okay. All right. Where was I? I just got a little confused here. Okay. But there was one more thing that I wanted to say. China's envoy to the EU, Liu Xiaoye, appalled by Trump's treatment of Europe. This is from the South China Morning Post. But China's special envoy for European affairs, Liu Xiaoye, said he was appalled by the way President Donald Trump had treated American allies in Europe, adding that a peace deal for Ukraine should not be determined only by the U.S. and Russia. Okay? When you look at how the Trump administration has implemented a brazen and domineering policy towards Europe, treating its allies in this way, honestly, from a European perspective, it's quite appalling, he said. So, damn, your pronunciations are getting good. Are you Chinese? I'm trying to be. Where is can you try, do we have a good working, decent U-block? Is there anything that I can work here? We'll be getting to the Gaza situation in a second because Israel's obviously shut off the humanitarian aid from Gaza, which is very annoying and predictable and totally unacceptable. But uBlock Origin Lite, that's what I was using already. Let's see if it works. No, on Chrome. I still want to use it on Chrome. It's also called a war crime, obviously. Depriving a captive civilian population of humanitarian aid is clearly a war crime. That is what Israel is doing. They are doing war crimes. But we're not going to be talking about Israel yet. We're going to go back to talking about Ukraine. So let's take a look at what Trump is doing on that front.
Directed for once to Ukraine, but this time to Russia. This is a change in direction for the US president, remember, he's hinted about lifting sanctions against Russia. The United States voted with Russia in favor of a peace deal that didn't recognize the sovereignty of Ukraine. That was at the United Nations just a week ago. That was a bust-up last Friday, this time in the Oval Office between President Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky. So now we're seeing the shift moving from Ukraine to the Russians. What does that mean? I think that basically means that Donald Trump's been very critical of Ukraine, but we haven't really heard anything from the Russians. And what has been clear all the way down the line is that whatever...
Chat, Swift the Guru has a take for all of you. You guys are all not straight. You guys are all not straight 100%. Gay. You guys are all gay. You guys are all gay. You guys are all gay. Thank you. Thank you for your bravery. You have demonstrated your profound observation skills, and you are not wrong. This is a very gay community. It's true. All right, let's continue. Hi, bye.
Happens in this war, Vladimir Putin's made it pretty clear that if there's nothing that he agrees with, then he's not going to end the war. He prefers to carry on fighting. He thinks he's got more to gain, especially with the way the United States is behaving right now, by keeping the war going. All of a sudden, Donald Trump seems...
Go to extensions. If you didn't like Chrome delete uBlock, you can click on the three dots to keep it and turn it back on. I did. I deleted it myself this morning like an idiot. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. I probably shouldn't have done that. Can I re-download it, or is it impossible to re-download it now? Dumbass. Yeah. You were not using the light version. uBlock Origin Lite works, and yeah, I was using a different uBlock. You can re-download it by going to the scripts and reactivate the button. It's off my extension list. I don't know where it is, but I guess I got to get it from GitHub maybe. Inspect element on the download button in the extension page, set disabled to enable, download again. No, I recently deleted uBlock Origin this morning when they said it's like now no longer working. But I'm just using Lite for now. I mean, I guess I could just get this from GitHub maybe. Gorhill uBlock. Is this safe? Is this link safe? I'll do it later. I'm not going to do it right now.
To change position and is now threatening the Russians. Will that have an effect? Well, we'll have to wait and see. But certainly this is another of those unpredictable moves by the U.S. president.
It is true, Philip, that prior to that whole spat with Volodymyr Zelensky, it was one of the things that he said initially in his first days in office, that Russia was not out of the hole with the United States, that they risked facing more sanctions. So we'll see which of those two positions will win. Now, in the meantime, of course, Philip, the Ukrainian president said Friday that the first steps to achieving real peace would be for both sides to halt aerial and naval attacks. How likely is that to happen?
Pretty unlikely, I think, right now. The Russians have made it clear that they're not interested in that deal because they say basically that this is going to let the Ukrainian army rebuild its resources, and therefore it's not good news for the Russians. And what they're saying about these attacks last night was that they may have hit energy infrastructures, but they are hitting areas that are beneficial to the Ukrainian military. That is the whole point of those attacks, according to the Russian side. So this is not the first time that Volodymyr Zelensky has made that request for a cessation of air activities and sea activities. It's fallen on deaf ears pretty much until now, as has the call for this peacekeeping force, the coalition of the willing, if you like, to bring in this peacekeeping force into Ukraine. That's also been dismissed by the Russians as a no-go. The Russians see that as basically nothing more than NATO getting its foothold in Ukraine, and that for them is something that is totally unacceptable. In the next few days, what have we got? We've got Volodymyr Zelensky traveling to Saudi Arabia to meet Mohammed bin Salman ahead of new peace discussions there. Then we have Volodymyr Zelensky going to South Africa to meet the President Cyril Ramaphosa. That'll be next month. Cyril Ramaphosa, who's been also proposing to intervene to try to find a peace deal between Ukraine and Russia. So there is a lot of diplomatic activity taking place right now. But for the moment, still those bombing raids taking place on Ukrainian territory from the Russians.
On Russia, if I may, President Putin is bombing Ukraine.
Yeah.
Do you still believe him when he tells you that he wants peace?
Yeah, no, I believe him. I think we're doing very well with Russia. But right now, they're bombing the hell out of...
Horrible take on China defending small countries and shamming U.S. peace talks while they did nothing to stop the war for 3 years, supported Russia all the way, and keep an eye on Taiwan, glaze China for what they do good, don't act like a sheep, says Tolkien Society. not right. You're incorrect about this. China currently is outflanking the United States on, and has consistently outflanked the United States in terms of what I think is achievable. China is on the side of Russia. It is a conditional ally to Russia in this. Russia is the party that is committing the wrong. That much is correct. Okay. But as far as no, China does. China has a conditional allegiance to Russia. That is 100% correct. I don't think it's inappropriate to say that. Maybe they don't have as much hands-on support like the DPRK, for example, which is ironic because I'm certain that the DPRK Russian allegiance in that regard is something that China doesn't like anyway, because they like having the DPRK as like a security barrier for themselves. Having said that, however, in terms of trying to find a manageable negotiation out of this situation, China has always been committed to coming to the table to do a ceasefire. They literally did a Brazil plan, and now they're also outflanking the United States once again by stating that yes, Ukraine should be at the table. China should also be at the table as the other side, the America of the other side, I guess, but with demonstrable restraint in comparison to the United States of America in terms of their foreign policy. Do they dominate other countries in the South China Sea, for example, like the Philippines? Absolutely. Okay, they do. It is marginal in comparison to what the United States of America does all around the globe. If you're looking at these two as major world powers, okay, and comparing one's actions all around the world to the other, it's fairly tame and incredibly restrained. If America had a similar limited foreign policy attitude, I would not be as critical of American foreign policy. This is something that I try to explain to Americans in general. They don't understand it, even though I myself am American. I wish that the United States of America would demonstrate restraint when they're engaging with other countries as well. They apply some sort of soft pressure, but they act two-faced as well. It's a weird take from the Chinese all of a sudden. Once again, I want America to implement good policies, okay? Whether it be in our domestic affairs or whether it be in terms of our foreign policy. If America significantly dialed back its imperialism and operated similarly to the way that like China operates in terms of foreign policy, or in terms of its domestic policies, engaged in massive infrastructure development projects, created a hub of transport, and started building taking seriously the innovations in maglev technology, and created bullet trains all around the country and whatever, I would be very happy. Let's continue.
Of Ukraine and Ukraine, I'm finding it more difficult.
The memes have gone full circle. Reddit conservatives are telling pro-Ukrainians to house the TPS Ukrainians. Trump is about to deport if they really care. Same shit when they smear you as a socialist, therefore the house homeless. I don't even understand what that
frankly,
is.
to deal with Ukraine.
Why would China try and stop a war that it did not start? Why did the U.S. and U.K. sabotage talks between Ukraine and Russia in the early phases? Why did Zelensky reject the China-Brazil plan, which did not ask for any rare earths from Ukraine? Yeah, no, I that's what I brought forth as well. I think China has been... I wish that America would have a similar attitude in terms of like managing the conflict.
And they don't have the cards. They don't have the cards. As you know, we're meeting in...
It's pure cope to look at the situation and just like try to somehow turn around and be like, but no, they're being two-faced. Dog, look at our guy, okay? Look at us. This is our guy, okay? This is you and I. That's our president. Do you understand? That's our president saying... still dunking on Zelensky, who is the wronged party here, okay? Dunking on our ally. What do you mean? How are you still in this process looking at other major powers around the world and like how they're trying to manage this situation and going, no, they're still worse though. Like think with your brain, please. How aggressive are they towards Russia, China? I mean, no, not aggressive at all. Russia is a foreign adversary. It's outside of the... Russia is outside of the sphere of Western influence. It's long been a foreign adversary, even after the dissolution of the USSR. This is precisely the reason why, just like with Iran, just like all of these other countries like Venezuela, there is basically a network of countries that have been cast aside by Western imperialism, and they have conditional relationships with one another. Like they have an allegiance with one another because they see it as they see any opportunity to coexist outside of the American periphery as they'll take it. This is why the Trump administration's accelerated accelerated sanction strategy that Joe Biden actually went crazy with, created this secondary market around the globe. Because if you sanction every country, all of a sudden you have now sanctioned no country. You are just sanctioning yourself at that point. They don't have any other choice. They have no alternative. They have to work with one another because America forces their hand. Yeah, Trump sanctions 69% of the global south, the poorest nations. Or not just Trump, but Biden as well, because American foreign policy is uniparty.
Saudi Arabia on sometime next week, early. And we're talking, would I find that in terms of getting a final settlement, it may be easier dealing with Russia, which is surprising because they have all the cards. I mean, they're bombing the hell out of them right now. And I put a statement in, a very strong statement.
We got all the cards. They got none of the cards. We got all the cards. Cards are ours.
And Ukraine has to get...
PSA 10, I opened the cards. I say to myself, that's a new Pokemon. I will this Pokemon.
Get on the ball and get a job done. Michael, could you come up here? I see Michael back there.
Where is my goat? Where is Steve Witkoff? Where is Goatkoff? Bring the goat in, okay? Bring the goat into this conversation as well.
Good, I'm glad. He's traveling all over the world. I just saw him come in the door. Could you give a little definition of what's going on, please?
Sure. Well, the president has been crystal clear, and he's been clear to all sides. The fighting has to stop. Both sides need to get to the table. We had a good engagement. Both leaders have said only President Trump could do so, and only he has been able to do so. We had an initial engagement with the Russians. The Ukrainians had a great opportunity to bind our economies together through that mineral deal. Unfortunately, that didn't go so well, but we think we're going to get things back on track. Secretary Rubio, myself, and the Ukrainian delegation will be meeting in Saudi Arabia.
Okay, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I got to hand it to Megaphonics on this take. You clock this, okay? The fighting has to stop, sounding like an ineffectual Brandon. No, the Brandonization of Trump is clear here, okay? When it comes down to Ukraine, he does sound like Brandon. Just like Brandon was Benjamin Netanyahu's little bitch boy, Trump is behaving like Vladimir Putin's little bitch boy, where everyone's got their favorites, okay? Everyone's got their favorites, baby. Yeah. I'm working tirelessly for a ceasefire. Now, of course, to be fair, I can't believe I'm saying this, but to be fair to Trump, which is a weird statement to make, Russia is a foreign adversary, which is precisely the reason why bringing them to the negotiation table is very different than bringing Israel to the negotiations table and making them do whatever we want whatever we want them to do, because Israel does not exist without our unconditional support and loyalty. It's not the same for Russia. So it is trickier and more difficult to manage that situation. Having said that, however, he is still very much hitting I would say 65% Brandonization on the Brandon meter with this whole, I'm working tirelessly around the clock for a ceasefire, believe me.
Next week to get these talks back on track, get a ceasefire in place, and drive peace home under President Trump's leadership.
I think both parties want to settle. I think if I wasn't president, this war would have had no chance of settlement, zero chance. But I think we're going to get it settled and stopped. We got to stop. They're losing on average 2,000 soldiers a week. That's a lot of soldiers. Do you agree, Peter?
It's a lot of soldiers on both sides, I agree. Do you, Mr. President, think that Vladimir Putin is taking advantage of the U.S. pause right now on intelligence and military aid to Ukraine?
No, I actually think he's doing what anybody else would do. I think he wants to get it stopped and settled, and I think he's hitting them harder than he's been hitting them. And I think probably anybody in that position would be doing that right now. He wants to get it ended, and I think Ukraine wants to get it ended, but I don't see, it's crazy. They're taking tremendous punishment. I don't quite get it, but I suspect, Michael, he probably wants to get it ended.
He does, Mr. President. The Russians are taking incredible losses on the front. As the president has said, this is a meat grinder of people, of material, of national treasure, and no one else has any solutions except to let this war continue forever. But I'll add, the president has had multiple conversations and a visit from President Macron of France, Prime Minister Starmer of the United Kingdom. We have the NATO Secretary General coming next week. We have this meeting with the Ukrainians. We've had it with the Russians. All of this in the president's first month in his leadership. We will engage in the shuttle diplomacy, and we will continue to use his leadership and what leverage we have to get both sides of the peace table. It's not going to be easy, but President Trump...
This war should have never happened. It would have never happened if I were president, but it did happen. So a lot of other things shouldn't have happened, too. We shouldn't have 21 million people pouring into our country through open borders, many of whom are criminals, very bad criminals, including murderers, thousands of murderers.
Donald Trump says he believes Putin wants peace.
He killed far more than one person, and they're roaming our streets. But Tom Homan and Kristi Noem are doing an incredible job, and we're getting them out of here. And we'll get them out. We'll get them all out. But all these things shouldn't have happened. We shouldn't have inflation. We shouldn't have had this horrible inflation where the prices have gone up. Look at eggs. So we're doing...
Dog, you're president now, though. I don't get it. Okay, you're president now. What happened? You're president. You said the previous president was responsible for the inflation. That's a big part of how you got elected. So I just don't understand. Like, it seems to me like what they presented as what the Democrats were doing, which is just like woke and gay shit and not fixing the cost of living crisis. They've just basically done the exact reversal of that, which is the anti-woke and anti-gay shit and not fixing the cost of living crisis. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, it kind of feels like these guys are all not really interested in fixing some of these underlying material realities that impact the working class of the United States.
We're doing a good job. We're doing a good job.
Mr. President, in regards to the pause on military assistance to Ukraine, you put out on your social media post today that Russia is pounding Ukraine.
Well, it doesn't take a month to fix everything, especially inflation, but respect to you for what you do. Yeah, perhaps inflation is not immediately related to whoever is in charge. That's number one, a reality that like Republicans refuse to reckon with. And secondly, and perhaps more importantly, this cost of living crisis that has been ongoing is not going to be fixed by Donald Trump's solutions. He never actually had any solutions, as a matter of fact. He just made it seem as though coming in and saying we're going to eliminate woke, we're going to eliminate DEI is going to somehow magically make prices go down. Okay? It was not. That was not the case. That was never the case. That's why everybody goes fell for it again award over and over again on Twitter.
That's right.
Why not provide Ukraine with...
This feels like your actually, Ark, bro, calling out hypocrisy as if they care. Love you, though. I'm not talking to Republicans here, or the Republicans I'm talking to. I'm trying to get them to understand that neither party actually cares about the cost of living crisis. Ultimately, one party is also marginally worse because they hyper focus on like doing harm to marginalized populations, and that they should very quickly wake up to that reality and refuse to lend support, unconditional support and fealty to the Trump administration that they somehow magically thought was going to restore American empire, restore American glory, and only doing so by, I guess, dominating trans people or Guatemalan immigrants.
Air defenses, and what happens, Mr. President, when Ukraine runs out of
Patriot missile batteries? Good question. Because I have to know that they want to settle. I don't know that they want to settle. If they don't want to settle, we're out of there because we want them to settle. And I'm doing it to stop death, more important than anything else. Secondarily, way down the line is the money. So we're in for $350 billion, and Europe is in for $100 billion. They should be in for the same or more than us. And, you know, I watched over the last week or so what's going on in Europe. This thing could end up in World War III if we don't get it settled. This could really end up in a World War III. We got to get it settled.
So on Iran, how confident are you that the Iranians will negotiate with you? And is Israel on board with this outrage?
Yeah, I saw the hostages the other day. They came in, people that were not young and some older, much older. And they gave, it was hard for them to do it, actually. They gave statements as to what happened. I was asking, what happened? How was it? I said, did you see anybody in there that was kind to, like, out of the hundreds of people that you were seeing, Hamas? Did some of them wink at you and say, don't worry, you're going to be okay, or give you a piece of bread, or no? I said, were there any people that were, like, kind? I was shocked. The answer was nobody. There was nobody. Just the opposite. They'd be slapped and punched. One man broke his ribs. He couldn't breathe for a month. It was brutal. I was so surprised. Could you think there'd be a couple of people that would be kind?
I think when Trump does Hasbara, it's really funny. When he does Hasbara, it's really funny because, like, he's just not, he's not about it. You know what I mean? He's just like,
Not a single one of them was kind. Not a single one.
Like, the delivery is not landing. Yeah, he's just,
Yeah, they're so unkind.
Meanwhile, did Hamas wink at you? Did they give you bread? Like, he's trying to hit like a Trumpian line there when he tries to add some seasoning, some flavor.
That would say, you're going to be okay. But they had none of that. It's pretty amazing. Brian?
Thank you, Mr. President.
He's a kind person.
Well, according to the
Although not to...
Yeah, Biden was way more aggro with the Hasbara. He would be like, I saw decapitated babies. I saw Hamas hold up a baby that they decapitated to the camera, Jack. And then Hamas said, that's right, we're going to do this to America. And we're doing this for anti-Semitism, Jack. Like, he would hit that line way harder, you know? He hit that line way harder. Trump, you're failing a little bit on this.
To Zelensky, he wasn't. I don't know that they want to settle. If they don't want to settle, we're out of there because we want them to settle. And I'm doing it to stop death, more important than anything else. Secondarily, way down the line is the money. So we're in for $350 billion, and Europe is in for $100 billion. They should be in for the same or more than us. And, you know, I watched over the last week or so what's going on in Europe. This thing could end up in World War III if we don't get it settled. This could really end up in a World War III. We got to get it settled.
So on Iran, how confident are you that the Iranians will negotiate with you? And is Israel on board with this outrage?
Yeah, I saw the hostages the other day. They came in, people that were not young and some older, much older. And they gave, it was hard for them to do it, actually. They gave statements as to what happened. I was asking, what happened? How was it? I said, did you see anybody in there that was kind to, like, out of the hundreds of people that you were seeing, Hamas? Did some of them wink at you and say, don't worry, you're going to be okay, or give you a piece of bread, or no? I said, were there any people that were, like, kind? I was shocked. The answer was nobody. There was nobody. Just the opposite. They'd be slapped and punched. One man broke his ribs. He couldn't breathe for a month. It was brutal. I was so surprised. Could you think there'd be a couple of people that would be kind?
I think when Trump does Hasbara, it's really funny. When he does Hasbara, it's really funny because, like, he's just not, he's not about it. You know what I mean? He's just like,
Not a single one of them was kind. Not a single one.
Like, the delivery is not landing. Yeah, he's just,
Yeah, they're so unkind.
Meanwhile, did Hamas wink at you? Did they give you bread? Like, he's trying to hit like a Trumpian line there when he tries to add some seasoning, some flavor.
That would say, you're going to be okay. But they had none of that. It's pretty amazing. Brian?
Thank you, Mr. President.
He's a kind person.
Well,
Although not to,
Yeah, Biden was way more aggro with the Hosmer. He would be like, I saw decapitated babies. I saw Hamas hold up a baby that they decapitated to the camera, Jack. And then Hamas said, that's right, we're going to do this to America. And we're doing this for anti-Semitism, Jack. Like, he would hit that line way harder, you know? He hit that line way harder. Trump, you're failing a little bit on this.
to Zelensky, he wasn't.
Well, you know what, that's another
But to Trump, he's been good.
Yeah.
Go ahead, bro.
Nice tie, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. I like yours too.
Two questions. One on peace. Why don't you think any other European countries are offering a peace deal? It seems like no one's come to the table for peace except for you.
Yeah. It's...
Dude, the quality of the, I don't even want to call this a question, but like the quality of the glazed statements that you get from these new pressers have absolutely passed dear leader status, okay? Genuinely, it's getting, I'm watching quote unquote journalists do new types of tricks on it, okay? Types of tricks that I did not know Americans were capable of doing. Incredible stuff. It's like, Mr. President, what do you have to, like, I mean, let's run that question back. Hold on. I want to run this back.
Don't you think any other...
Like,
that's another...
but hold on, amazing. Brian?
Thank you.
Let's hear what he, let's hear this question, okay? I need you to pay attention to this question.
He's a kind person.
Well, according to...
Although not to Zelensky, he wasn't.
Well, you know what, that's another...
This is the guy. This is the human heart disease that was like telling Zelensky why he wasn't wearing a suit, from Right Side Broadcasting News, okay? Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend. Let's take a look at what his question is, okay?
But to Trump, he's been good.
Yeah.
Go ahead, bro.
Nice tie, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. I like yours too.
Two questions. One on peace. Why don't you think any other European countries are offering a peace deal? It seems like no one's come to the table for peace except for you.
Yeah.
Mr. President, why is no one else as peaceful as you are, sir? Why is no one else interested in doing peace? Why are you the only one, Mr. President?
It's a very good question. Sometimes questions are...
It is crazy because, like, he is flossing with Donald Trump's pubes at this point. Like, this is dick riding that should be illegal. I think you should go to jail if you suck the president like this hard in broad daylight.
Answerable. They're in a very unusual position. They don't know how to end the war. I think I do know how to end the war.
Mr. President, I've been watching a lot of porn so I can improve my dick sucking capabilities.
Despite
do you like it? Do you like what I'm doing?
Russia hoax. I've always had a good relationship with Putin. And, you know, he wants to end the war. He wants to end it. And I think he's going to be more generous than he has to be. And that's pretty good. That means a lot of good things. Because frankly, you could have made a great deal if this war never started, you could have made a great deal. I don't know that anything would have had to be given up. This was not a war that was going to start, Brian.
Yeah.
And it didn't start for 4 years. You know, somebody said, well, how do we know that? Well, for 4 years, it didn't start. I used to speak to Vladimir about it. I used to speak to him about it at length. It was the apple of his eye, but there was no way he was going in. And he knew, you know, there were going to be consequences. But it did start. I mean, think of what happened. Inflation, you have the war with Ukraine and Russia, that wouldn't have happened. October 7th would have never happened. Israel, they had no money. Iran had no money. Iran was stone cold broke, and now they have a lot of money. But then that's going to be the next thing you'll be talking about is Iran. What's going to happen with Iran? And there'll be some interesting days ahead. That's all I can tell you. You know, we're down to final strokes with Iran. That's going to be an interesting time. And we'll see what happens. But we're down to the final moments. We're at final moments. You can't let them have a nuclear weapon. I think that I would have had a deal within 1 month after the rigged election of 2020. They were all set to make a deal. And then when I lost, they saw this person who's a stupid person, very stupid person. And they said, let's not make a deal. And they were right. He took the sanctions off. They became rich under Biden. They went from having no money to having $300 billion. All in a short period. It's oil. Oil builds up fast. It's a nice living if you have a nice oil well. And they do. They have a lot of nice oil wells, right? So anyway, so it's going to be a big thing. It's an interesting time in the history of the world. But we have a situation.
He's not wrong about that. He's definitely playing a role in that, being an interesting time. How does anyone think this guy is presidential material? What do you mean? He's the GOAT. He's fixing everything, dude. He's killing it. He's the greatest of all time. He's gonna finally make the egg prices go down. He's doing day one peace.
Situation with Iran, that something's going to happen very soon. Very, very soon. You'll be talking about that pretty soon.
How can he continue to talk shit about Biden like this? Doesn't it present him pathetic? No, it's all resentment. What are you talking about? He's got no emotion outside of like pure resentment towards. Oh yeah, you might be tricky to get it out of there. Also, that's BDS, bro. Yeah, Diet Coke is BDS now. I know. I haven't been drinking them.
Do it?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't want to call you out. Yeah, I've been drinking.
You want to call me out? You just call me out on stream.
Well,
bro,
it's fine. Just put the.
You're a snake, dude.
Ethan's
right about you.
Put the red hat on.
Ethan's right about you.
Oh my God! Don't even.
Setting up your friends.
Don't even start, dude. Yeah, I'm actually being anti-Semitic by telling you can't drink Diet Coke.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
When is this from? Now?
This is from earlier in the day. Ooh. He won by a landslide according to some Canadians. This is what he campaigned on. He needs his approval rating to come back up, bro. They are already purchased. Don't matter. Yeah, just put it in a koozie or something. I don't know. It is already purchased. You're right. Oh yeah, you can put the blue on it. Mike matches the fit. Oh, true. I didn't even think about that. Go Lakers. Knicks suck, bro. Damn, they're talking shit.
He's right.
They're talking big shit.
The man speaks the damn truth.
They're talking big shit in the chat.
Soon, I guess, and hopefully we can have a peace deal. You know, I'm not speaking out of strength or weakness. I'm just saying I'd rather see a peace deal than the other, but the other will solve the problem.
Mr. President,
do you feel safer having your own Jewish hostages at your house? Yes. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm not just a human shield in rhetoric.
Yeah, I'm
not just an excuse.
He's here shielding me. He's here shielding me from the anti-Semitism allegations and also directly shielding me from getting drone striked.
Yeah, no, there's like, I'm in the path. I'm in the line of fire.
Yeah. What happened to this camera? This was better. Oh, shit. I just moved the other camera as well on accident.
Here.
Hold on. That's better.
Gorgeous.
Wait, but this got up. Yeah, this camera moved as well. Now this camera moved.
You can't ever win.
Nah, it's fine. It's all good. Let's turn this off and let's do this. This is better, I think. I think it's better. Noah, I had that shirt bag in 92 high school era. Solid choice.
Yeah, well, this is actually probably like my best thrift store find ever.
Yeah, it's dope.
Yeah, I'm really lucky. It's great.
It looks sick. Offer him a wink and some bread. Oh, did you hear that? Trump said he talked to all the hostages.
Oh wait, yeah. I overheard.
And he's like
some
all
of
the
them are
release.
old, some of them are very old.
Yeah, he's like, I asked them, did any of the guys, were they nice to you? Did they offer you a wink or some bread? They said no. That's
really good.
Audio files are going to be up your ass today? No, the microphones are fixed completely. So no.
Your allies are calling on you to pardon Derek Chauvin. Are you considering pardoning Derek Chauvin?
No, I haven't even heard about it.
Oh my God, Ben Shapiro, you're so washed. Ben, you're
motion,
washed.
Mr. Zero Motion.
Yo, you are so washed, dude. That video got 75,000 views in 2 days.
Oh yeah, right. We looked at that.
Yeah,
that was
or
crazy.
like 50,000.
But also, like again, I stand by what I said. It was but it was entirely CYA for him because if you Googled before this month, if you Googled Ben Shapiro, Derek Chauvin, you would get the video where for like the first time in Ben Shapiro's like miserable life, he showed some humanity or empathy or whatever. Thought, you know, it was like, that's
can't
not
have
right.
that. Nope.
No, but so now when you Google Ben Shapiro, Derek Chauvin, even though there was probably never going to be a chance of the pardon because Trump can't free the guy because he's serving the state sentence. He's, you know, like now Ben Shapiro has solved his problem. It is, all I can say is that like it's it's impressively cynical even for like a shit stain like Ben Shapiro. You know, like that's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, he's just you're so right with the SEO ploy. I didn't think about it like that.
Who's Googling Ben Shapiro though? Come on, bro. So many people are Googling Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
Google exists to connect people who collect Social Security to Ben Shapiro content.
That's true.
You know, like that's a radicalization funnel. You know.
All right, let's keep going. Let's see what else he said.
Mr. President, on peace.
I haven't heard that.
In the first term, you may recall, I broke the news that you were nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. And the reason for that was the work that you led on the Abraham Accords. I spoke yesterday with the member of parliament, the Norwegian parliament, that nominated you. And he said what the Nobel Committee is looking for from you, Mr. President, is
he's like a draft prospect
for Ukraine. Is that a possibility?
Even the people who
Mr.
glaze
President?
him do it weird.
Yeah.
So before I even think about that, I want to settle the war, get it finished. Because if I'm not here, nobody's going to settle it. And President Macron has said that, and everybody said that, the prime ministers and presidents. We're pushing very hard. That's all I'm thinking about now. As far as the question about security later, that's the easy part. The hard part is getting it settled. We got to get them. We're losing 2,000 human beings every week. More than that, actually. 2,000 nice, young.
I know that, like, notoriously, the Russia-Ukraine war has been very secretive. Like, our intelligence communities have been notoriously and unceremoniously secretive about the casualty numbers of Ukraine.
And like I mean, the Ukrainians are because, like, I mean, everybody is.
'Cause
Nobody has an incentive to be honest.
It's 100%
about it.
like information warfare. Russia is lying about their casualty numbers, saying, "Oh, we're doing fantastic," and Ukraine is also, you know, lying about their casualty numbers versus the Russian casualty numbers. It's the same shit, right? And there are obviously incentives for that. There's obviously an understandable reason for that. But what has been shocking for me, at least, is like our intelligence apparatus. Our intelligence apparatus is normally on this. You know what I mean? Like they will reveal the truth to at least like congressional representatives, like, and even they have been upset about not knowing what the situation is, like what the actual situation is on the ground. So I don't know where the hell Trump is getting these numbers from. Like, I don't know if Trump is getting this info now and he's just like turning around and saying like they're dying, 2,000 people are dying every week.
I mean, it is like what we know about how Trump was presented with information from in like term one. Like, for example, Alex Thompson, who is the one co-writing the book about Biden and the age stuff. He in his Trump one term, he had like Alex broke the story that he got like the meme binder, like the file of images from the internet that would make him smile that was printed out. And I do think that like he probably is, you know, like every president gets briefings tailored to their personality and style. Like Ronald Reagan, and this is in the 80s, he like was so famously averse to reading that they would make a video for him to be his briefing. So in Trump's case, like, yeah, I'm sure he's getting like some kind of briefing. He's getting some kind of figures. Like, I'm sure these numbers are coming from somewhere, whether or not it's like the secret, actual straight, you know, like whether it's like the real shit or whatever. Like, I think it's Trump magic not to let us know whether that's so, where it's coming from.
Yeah.
Although they're getting older because they're drafting much older now. In the case of one country, much older, because a lot of the young people have been killed. It's very sad, and I'd like to see if I could stop that.
Wait, what? He's saying that the young people are being killed. That's why they're the soldiers in the ranks are much older. No, dog. they're older because they don't want to draft younger people. They don't want to completely shut off their next generation. Am I wrong on this? Isn't that the case? Like they've lowered the draft age multiple times at this point. But I thought that the real reason why, the age of all of the average age of like the Ukrainian defense force person is like 40 plus or something, and that's because young people are not getting drafted yet. No, it's not because they're killing the youth. It's because, one, if you're a young Ukrainian man, you probably got the out of Ukraine, which is perfectly reasonable. Okay. Oh, he's talking about Russia? Wait, what? He's talking about the Russian military? No, I think he's talking about the Ukrainian one.
I'd like to also see if we could stop making these massive payments from the United States. I mean, Biden gave away money like it was water, with no anything, got nothing for it. Europe did it in the form of a loan. They get their money back, we don't. So that's how we came up with the rare earth deal. But we started, behind the 8 ball. He could have gone to Europe. He could have said, "Come on, you got to put up money with us. You got to put up money with us." But he never did that. They just kept handing money out because he was grossly incompetent. All right, thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he was doing his classic trail off anyway.
Russia says sending European peacekeepers to Ukraine would be act of war. Have you seen the New York Times article about the explosive meeting between Musk and Elon Musk and Marco Rubio? Little Marco. Yeah, we're going to cover that in a second. Did America pay anyone back for helping with 9/11? I don't. No, that's not how this works. I don't think. Also, our weapons deals that we're doing with our European partners, as far as like NATO deals goes, it's directly benefiting the military industrial complex. It's our manufacturing industry that helps or that gets a lot of those contracts.